Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the honor and the blessings of the infinite Creator. And I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom of the universe. Now, this is one of my little impromptu videos that I've been prompted to do now. But there are little subjects along the way that pop up, and so today I got a little clarification on something, and I would like to share it with you. And in the course of our spiritual awakeness, and in the course of our human behavior, in the course of just being a person, um, there are many things in life that affect us. And what I mean by wonky times, hey, sweet pea, how are you? Continued blessings sent your way. So we are living in some wonky times. I mean, come on, we are. You look at I just as a watchman, I look through the headlines and I'm looking to see what's going on, and I'm noticing patterns, especially over the last 8, 10 years that I've been watching these things. And it's like, oh my God, we're going to die again. Oh my God, the apocalypse. Oh my God, something else. Oh my God. Oh my God. And for a lot of us, we have had to deal with this constant barrage of wonkiness from lots of different places. Sun's going down here. We had nice rain yesterday, by the way, inch and a half officially here on the farm. But in the dealing with the wonkiness, though, there are some people who just like can't stay out of it. They got to keep their nose in the news, and it's like I find that scanning the headlines is plenty enough for me. If something really intrigues me and I go in and watch something, and I think sometimes that maybe it's old age, but had discussed I have had this discussion, say that 3 times in a row, with several other people, and Brian and I kind of sort of discussed it the other day from Milky Way Messenger. And it's that there are certain things now that just don't appeal to us, and it's not that we've become snobs per se, but we've reached a certain point where some of this information just doesn't do us any good, and rehashing it and going back over it, and being caught up in the wonkiness of the universe. Now, we didn't use this terminology the other day. I'm using it now in this video as far as being wonky, but I'm looking at stuff, and stuff's it's just like out of place. It's out of phase. Sometimes it feels like there's been a time shift somehow. Hey, Crystal, how are you? And so, but with that said, though, in this wonkiness, I've been asking for guidance on this, on how to explain it. And it came to me in that, so that's why I had to share it right now. It came to me, though, we have to look at things scientifically in a way. So we're so used to looking at the news and what's going on. Oh, and another big rock flew by the earth. Rocks are flying by the earth all the time, always have and always will. And so things like, well, it's nice to know it didn't hit anything, after the fact, but should we sit around and worry about these things? And I can speak from experience. At one time I thought, oh, holy crap, the end of the world is coming. All these other things were fitting together, my own personal dreams. And then I realized, wait, calm down. For myself, calm down. And so I had to teach myself to look at the news, to keep my emotions out of the news, to deal with the wonkiness that I was seeing. So to share this, Dawn's sitting over here, Breaking Dawn's sitting right over here, everybody. But anyway, I started this. She was outside in the garden. But it was like I had to share this before it got out of my head. But the wonkiness that goes on in the universe. So what we need to do is think about this as a scientific experiment. And so you're a lab partner, and you've got instructions on how to do things, and you add this much and that much, and you're cooking on a fire, and you reach a temperature, and you blah, 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 whatever the experiment is you're doing. So there's somebody who's actually doing the pouring, and there's somebody, a lab technician, a partner, something, who's writing down the stuff. And then there's maybe other people in the lab that are just watching the experiment. They're not actually involved. Well, there is so much background information about the observer. So in scientific experiments, if there are a bunch of people standing around watching an experiment, it can actually have an effect on the experiment. And so, as we human beings, spiritual beings, etc., we need to look at things from an observer's point of view. Whereas instead of allowing our emotions to become a part of something, we need to just stand back and fold our arms. And it's not that we're not concerned. We still are compassionate beings. We still wish for positive things. But we stand back and we go, wait a minute now. Is somebody trying to suck the energy out of me? Is somebody trying to draw me back into the wonkiness? Wait a minute. I just have reached a state of mind, whether you want to call it a spiritual awareness or a physical awareness, but you finally reached a state of mind where there is so much information that you have to just stand back, sit back, and look at it from an observer's point of view instead of, I must read every article about this, or I must delve more in. There are more rabbit holes that I should dive down. Wait a minute. Really? So it can steal your energy to go down these paths, to be deflected in ways when during these wonky times, what we need to do is stay focused on those things that really matter to us. We need to keep our ego in check, but at the same time, we need to watch what's going on with the wonkiness, because much like the magnetosphere is on the planet fluctuating. Oh, and by the way, we have been observing, and the site for the Schumann resonance has been down now for several days. It was up yesterday for not even maybe 16 hours, and it's been down ever since. But anyway, so they're either the machine's down or we're getting some wonky stuff from outer space. Kind of why I'm bringing this up too. But so there's wonky stuff going on that we can see, can't see, the wonkiness in the news, the politics, the wonky stuff. And so, but how much do you want to participate in this? And my point is, I want to keep an eye on it, but it's like down in Florida, and I'm over I live in South Georgia, and over in the Okefenokee Swamp, which is more east of here. But there are alligators and stuff. I mean, down when I'm on the swamp, there are alligators down there. So the chance of meeting up with an alligator down here in the swamps is maybe in some areas more than likely than not. But but to the point though, it's like going looking at the news and looking at life and looking at all this wonkiness is sort of like going to an alligator zoo. And this, and back in the day, an alligator farm. There's big ones over here, and there's the little ones that are brewing. And when I was a kid growing up in Tampa, our neighbor literally raised alligators in his cement pond in his backyard. As a child, we used to have little races and things. I mean, when alligators are only this long, they just hatch. They're cute little dickens, but they get on the end of your finger. You can't sling them off. I have personal experience with this. And them little suckers can run, as a 9-year-old kid trying to run from a gator that's this long, in flip-flops, no less, in Florida. But I digress. But I use the alligators because I've kind of been around them. But anyway, so you're at an alligator farm. So looking at the wonkiness is like being in an alligator farm. You can look, but don't touch. Stay on the path. So you take the observer point of view. Well, if I cross over this fence, boing. So think of yourself as from the observer point of view. I know using the alligator farm may be a little stretchy, but out there are alligators that are trying to eat us in some form of reality or another. In their wonkiness, they're trying to get us involved in their negative energy or whatever it is. So okay, yeah, there are alligators out there. Maybe that is a good analogy after all. You know what I mean? But to the point though, you can get through the alligators as long as you stay on the path. So if you stay on your path and you know who you are and you keep yourself focused, And don't go straying off over here when you know there's a bull mama with some new babies and she's going to protect them and she will eat you in a heartbeat. So you don't go there. You pay attention. You are aware of your surroundings. So with all of these things that are going on, hi Crystal, Breaking Dog, Big Little Mew, as always. Um, Death by 1,000 frustrations. Yeah. So, but every day we are bombarded with all of these images, energies, and so forth. But and we do need to keep an eye on it. So, some folks, in talking with Brian on the show the other night, there are some folks that seem somehow, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's sort of kind of like backslid a little bit. That maybe they're not quite sure about their spiritual journey, or they're having questions somehow with whatever is going on in their life, or what their understanding of the universe. There are a lot of different things, but in some ways they have to reassure and reaffirm themselves of their spiritual path and what they're doing, and there's a lot of wonkiness going on. So what we need to do is be careful that we don't overextend our own boundaries during the wonkiness. Stay with what's comfortable. So, for example, if I don't know, if the weather is a little cloudy outside or a chance of thunderstorms, you would be better off to take an umbrella before you go, just in case. Doesn't mean you're wishing for rain or it's going to rain, but you're being careful. You're aware of your surroundings, where the person is, well, I should have brought my umbrella today, So in life and in the spirituality of things, what we need to do is be careful that we follow these very simple rules. Stay on the path, look out for the alligators. Don't instigate any of them. Don't go poking a stick at things. And if you want to jump into the pit, then be prepared. If you're going to go down a rabbit hole, then be prepared to go down that rabbit hole. And the self-awareness part for each of us is that we always should ask ourselves the question, why do I want to go down that rabbit hole? Always the question is, why do I want to do this? It may be a valid reason, but you should always ask yourself, why do I want to do this now? Or why is this important that I follow this particular path right now? Why is this important? Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means, and that you shouldn't, it's not that you should question everything that you do, but there are certain times that you just have to sit back as the observer. And life is an experiment. And I mean, we're learning every day, everything that we do and how things transpire. We have to learn how to deal with the new experiment. Every new situation, there are bombings over here, somebody's, stealing nukes and holding them hostage. There's people over here, there's earthquakes over there. There are crazy people who are just crazy. And then there's the rest of society, But one of the things in looking about in the society down here, where a lot of people say, the world is crazy. Well, down here in the South, at least some of these towns and where I'm around and so forth, things are doing fair to middling. There's problems everywhere. There are drug problems. There, is a horrible heroin addiction down here in the South that I did not know existed. So it's like, well, wait a minute. But in general, people can get a job if they want one. The jobs are paying fairly middling. The people are trying to interact with people in a good way. There are local organizations that I've been aware of for many years, like in Thomasville, who are still collecting and donations for homeless and folks who need help with food and things like that. And so on a local level, people are taking care of themselves, without going through Red Cross or some church or anything. It's local organizations who are, they're just people who are volunteering to do things. And so when you look at the news on things, you would swear that the world is crumbling when it actually really isn't. they're trying to portray that the world is crumbling. And so we have to look at the world as an observer versus a participant. And I got this little message yesterday that was like, in spiritually, physically, mentally, and all of these things, we need to be careful um, with the fights that we start. Where do you really want to start a war over here? Do you really want to pick a fight with this person? Do you really want to go there? Do you really feel, afternoon, Michelle, do you really feel like you should go down this rabbit hole? Maybe, maybe being aware that there's something over there, like, for example, if no one's ever heard of priest and pedophile with boys, this may be a new thing. But to say that, yeah, there's so much information out there, if I need to learn more, I can, versus, well, I think I should jump into this and learn all I can right now. Is that really necessary? It's not that you can't or that you shouldn't, but maybe you shouldn't, not now. Maybe a little bit of information is all you need to be aware of, versus diving down that rabbit hole to the point where you can't see anything else but the rabbit hole. So in this time of wonkiness in the universe and everything that they're trying to portray, we need to understand, be careful about them rabbit holes. They may be entertaining, they may be interesting, they may be fascinating to us in our tiny little brains, and we just really want to know this. But as you're doing it, you have to ask your question, why am I pursuing this? What's the end result of this? If I learn all about this, what am I going to do with it? It's not that it isn't necessary, but you have to understand that during this time of wonkiness with all these things, staying in your own backyard kind of thing and looking over the fence with an observer point of view is not necessarily a bad thing. If your neighbor's in trouble, well, then go over and help them. If something over here is something, so it's not like we're trying to be isolationist. But instead of like running through the neighborhood, hi, everybody, you just sit in the front yard in a lawn chair and wave at all the other folks. It may be, I know that's a bad analogy, but it may be just as simple as that. You can participate in that. I'm going to stay here in my own front yard right here and watch y'all. Hi, everybody. It's not that I'm afraid, but I'm just going to be cautious and stay here. Now, I mean that in a spiritual and a physical sense, maybe in some cases. But in this energy and everything that's going on with the wonkiness, we need to maybe just stay on our own front yard. And digging for rabbits may not be our best usage of time right now. Our best usage of time may be, instead of digging for down rabbit holes so that we can fit and understand what's going on, we may spend that same amount of time in meditation to just further our own inner force, to strengthen ourselves, to keep ourselves focused, to keep ourselves strong during these times of wonkiness. So veering off the trail, and was listening to a very old edition of Father Malachi Martin on Art Bell from 1996, and some of the things that he said back then, 23 some odd years ago, is so true now. We've seen the changes. We've seen people changes and how our interaction with stuff. And he was projecting these things back in 96. And I'm thinking to myself, but there are certain things that have not changed. And on a spiritual, now Father Martin was a priest, so he's got a biased opinion in that. But even some of the things as a priest, he understood there. If you understand who you are, and that as a spiritual person, we have our connection with God, and however you want to look at it, and I prefer creator or source, and he was more of praying to them with good intent and goodwill in 96. Again, he's a priest, but to listening to the interview today after all these years, and I remember some parts of the interview from when I listened to it back in the day. So a lot of this information I already have, and it's already been absorbed in myself. But to listen to it again, and I'm thinking, there are a lot of things that are still very important that have not changed. And that's our intent towards other people. That's our intent with the universe. And if we participate in the chaos, then we become chaotic. How about that one for a nice little short blurb sentence? If we participate in the chaos, we become chaotic because we're participating. Now, how it affects us and what level, and that's my point. We can observe the chaos without participating, which is totally different. Hi, Ian, how are you? So, my cautionary things about warnings with folks with stuff, and they're part of it was the second interview Art Bell did with Malachi Martin, in case you're interested to listen for yourself. But in it, there was a discussion about a person who had been involved with the CIA, possibly the Montauk Project or something similar, and doing remote viewing, and that some of these people had, but when they came back, they brought something back with them, and because they weren't trained on how to do certain things, and so certain attachments, you go out there messing in the astral world and stuff, and you're not prepared, and then something attaches to you that you literally need an exorcist to get rid of. Now, is that true in every case? No. But the thing is the potential is very real. So before you go off wandering out in the brush without a walking stick or a hatchet or or a bush axe or something, then maybe you should just stay along the edge and observe from the path. If you're not prepared, you're going to get chiggers and red bugs and ticks, and if you're going to get scratched. You're walking around in flip flops and trying to go through the jungle. No, that's not going to work. You're not prepared. So, and spiritually, people want to veer off the path in a lot of different ways, and thinking they're going to go through the jungle in a pair of flip flops. I mean, we can kind of envision that one. It's just really dumb. Stay on the trail. Observe it from the trail, keep an eye on it, wild animals, okay, but, maybe you shouldn't go wandering spiritually and energetically. So part of my discussion about this right now in the wonkiness is that with the news and all the things they're pushing at us all the time, and I watch over time, and it actually seems like there's a pulse to the news. In like it'll be discussions of this, and it'll come up, and then it'll change, and then it'll pulse back up like this. And over time, when you look at it from an observer's point of view, instead of like, what's going on in the news today, and you can't see past here. When you sit back from the observer's point of view and say, oh, wait a minute, you'll notice there are reoccurring topics or something. There's wording. Now, I've been watching and listening to Cliff High for quite a few years, and he actually ran programs. He may still do, I'm not quite sure, that checked certain names and anomalies and stuff like that, and he gave predictions which were damned accurate in a lot of cases. But the thing is but as a watchman, as an observer, just of nature and so forth, I learn things about nature because I watch it. We learn things about people because I watch people. I watch their reactions, their interactions, and so forth. So we learn by observing. But if we participate, if watching the parade go by versus being in the parade and participating in the parade, which I have participated in several parades down here in Thomasville back in the day with the theater group and other things in the Rose Show. But being in the parade is totally different than watching it go by. You're still there, you're still interacting, but being in it versus watching it, it's totally different. You see it from a different perspective. So when you're in it, you're moving along, and there's a band in front of you, there's a float behind you, and you're in this little tube of stuff, within the parade. You see all the people going by as you move. They're sitting still watching you go by, and it's a long train of floats and people and bands and things. So, but you're both interacting at the same event. See what I mean? So in life, we have to do that. Sometimes there's a time, like at the end of the parade, it's always, a lot of folks always trail follow the parade route, because some of the folks that are sitting there, They have people in the parade, and where the parade route ends, everybody disbands and people meet with people and they go off and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people follow the parade after it's over. But anyway, that's just a Southern thing, maybe. I don't know. But to the point though, so wait till after the parade's over before you go following somebody or whatever, watch it go by. So be an observer rather than a participant. We can participate with our free will at any time we choose. What we need to understand is to listen to our higher self. And it basically boils down to very simple, our intuitions. Well, feminine intuition. Okay, that's one, but each of us has an intuition if we practice and listen to it. That's our higher self. Sometimes those are the angel messages. Our stomach grumbles when we're supposed to do something, and we get physically sick because, well, we promised to do something, and we know damn well and good that something's wrong about it. And that's a message, to pay attention. Um, but so it is our overall awareness. But awareness of alligators doesn't mean we have to step on one. Awareness of being in the swamp and knowing I got flip flops on and I should not get off the path. Being spiritually aware is with that understanding. It's all right for you to maybe not move forward, but to stand still. And with the bear, with the Native American cards that I have, several months ago, I did a video and I talked about some of the cards that I had chosen, and one was bear upside down. And that means that many times we need to hibernate, but not with sadness or grief or anything like that, to be depressed, but we need to just close ourselves up in a hibernation like bear does. It's actually conserving energy, but it's waiting through a period of time. And sometimes the images or things that happen, we need to allow these things to progress within us. So before we go jumping into the stream of a parade or whatever, and become involved in it, so we actually don't see the rest of the parade because we're now involved in it. So if we're involved in one thing, we can't see the rest of it. So with that, but dealing with the wonkiness and dealing with the craziness spiritually, physically, think about the observer point of view. How do you wish to participate? Accept or reject? Negative. Wait a minute. That's something I need to be aware of that, but nah, you ain't getting none of my energy. So say, well, I can still watch it. I can be absolutely neutral. I can watch something and go, well, that's nice, and put no emotion to it whatsoever, but I'm still aware of it. So that's how I've noticed that there are like fluctuations in the news and when they say the pulse of the news, they're actually that's actually, when you look at it from the observer point of view, and the more I detach myself from any emotional attachment to these, to the wonkiness, the more I realize, wow, I can see patterns there that I didn't notice before. And didn't something happen like this a few months ago? And just kind of look back and go, yeah, it was there. Hey, Max Vision, long time no see there. But so when you notice these patterns, and it doesn't take a computer, it's just your own observation. But when you slow yourself down and become the observer versus the participant, then all these other things start to, if you will, manifest themselves. They're always there. The patterns were always there. The fluctuations, the pulse, however you want to look at it, it's always been there. But now you've slowed yourself down to go, wait a minute. I'm sitting in my lawn chair in my front lawn, watching all the people running by and on their bicycles and walking their dogs, and I see them all. If I'm walking my dog or riding my bicycle, I'm whizzing past the other people. I don't see what's going on. Both are participating. So sometimes we just need to stop. We need to get off our bike and just park it doesn't mean we have to quit riding a bike. No, that's not the point. Sometimes we just need to sit and watch versus participate, because then we can see the whole picture. We see the whole neighborhood instead of just riding through and whizzing past thinking riding a bike. But in life, we do that sometimes too. And going down a rabbit hole is like, on a 10-speed bike as fast as you can go in one direction. So everything that's going on around you still is whizzing past you because you're only focused on this one spot. You're only focused on the end point or what's down this trail, if you will. Patience is key to enlightenment. Absolutely. And I have been a very impatient person in my life, so I can attest to that. And the thing is that, we want it right now. In fact, I was a little impatient today, as a matter of fact, did some checking, wasn't going to call, decided the product wasn't in. I'm like, okay, stay home. And then it was like, okay, so you're going to stay home today and do this video about this. Okay. But, there's always something else to participate in if we choose so. But patience, absolutely patience. And a lot of times I have seen folks over the years who think that somehow enlightenment is going to be just right there. You're going to give me, I'm going to learn, I'm going to do a sigil and I'm going to, get this enlightenment, or I'm going to learn these spells, or I'm going to use the Ouija board, or I'm going to do these things and it's going to give me these special insights. No, if you don't know how to use the tools of the trade, as it were, then what are you going to get? Nothing. You're going to get mixed images. You're going to get something. Well, wait a minute. You might tune into a station you ain't supposed to be listening to, and is detrimental to your health, mentally, physically, and etc. spiritually. So, folks who are experimenting with things, when I talked on Brian's show the other day, I did a video last night, I think, about it, that I've discussed it. The armor is us. We have to put on our own armor, and we have to have a shield. There's a difference. And so every day you say, I accept and receive the positive gifts from the universe. I also, you can, in the next sentence, to me, and I reject all negative forms of energy directed my way. Now, I can say I don't like any negative forms, but I'm specifically, because I'm in a self-protect mode, I reject any negative energies that are maybe sent my way. I'm confirming my own personal armor. Okay. Now my shield is different. Now my shield is for when there's, hey, Supernatural, good to see you. My shield, though, I use when Spirit says, hey, you got some incoming over here, like bam. I think of it in terms of, the knights of old, right? And somebody's got an arrow and it's like incoming, and boom, you put up your shield. Your armor is on, but you need that shield sometimes for just points. But we should, our shield is our awareness. Our shield is the protection that the mantra that we say, which is reaffirming and confirming to ourselves that I am a strong spiritual being. I reject any negatives. It doesn't mean that you don't see them. You just reject them. I accept and receive the gifts and the healing and the good energy from the universe. I reject any negative energies and any entities that try to influence me. So you're just reaffirming it. And you can pray to Jesus, but the bottom line is you have to say it out loud so you hear it, so your subconscious hears it, so you become strong in you. And so what is your armor? That. Your armor is your confidence. Without, you have to have some ego in there, but not to the point where I've stated last night. You don't go out there and throw out your chest and go, I got my armor on. Okay, y'all, come take a pot shot. I can do anything. Don't even do that. Oh, don't even do that. And I did at one point, early on back in the day. Here I am. I've got this spiritual, I've got this knowledge, and I got my ass whooped, kicked to the curb, hurt because I was so arrogant thinking that, well, I can. Nah, that is not how you do it. What you do is you have strength. If an entity sees that your energy and your light is strong, they're not going to mess with you because it's too much effort on their part. So your confidence in that I am a strong, and to some people a sovereign being, to me that's just given, but other people have to reaffirm that as well. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. Whatever you need to say in your day to reaffirm confidence in you so that you can keep your focus and keep your armor on. Okay. So, with that said, then now the shield is when, well, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole and learn about some of this stuff, and you encounter stuff along the way. You need to put your shield up. Now, what does that mean in the real world, you may say, Hawkeye? Well, there are negative entities with people want to say, crappy things about you. Maybe somebody's, talking crap or trash or something. But, at the workplace, the family, whatever it might be. I mean, I learned years later that there was a lot of people that talked trash about me at a certain point in my life. And I was like, what did I do to deserve that? I don't know, but they found it important. And I was like, what the hell? If they'd known that I was like high most of the time and was like, I was actually a different person during that time because I was so blistered on drugs. But to the point though, when I thought I heard somebody talking behind my back, they actually were. So that was an interesting after the fact that I found in my, in my lifetime. But the point though is that we can't fear that. We can't fear it. We have to be positive with who we are. Now, if we're a genuine butthole, we need to get our stuff straight. But if you're being a decent human being, and I've heard some people say, and they'll do it like this. Well, I was kind to that person. I told him, here's $5 to maybe it'll help you to get a job. What's wrong with that? I gave to him and I couldn't understand why he scrunched his nose up at me. Did you just hear what you said? Well, I gave him $5 to help him find a job. Like, insinuating, well, I'm going to give you this, but I'm giving it to you with conditions. Wait a minute, but I'm a Christian person, and, I told them if they cleaned up, that they have to do this and this and this, which may be absolutely impossible for a homeless person to achieve because the homeless people that I've known over the years, they have reached a certain point of depression where it takes stages to come out of their homelessness. Otherwise, they revert right back to the street. But anyway, that's another observation. But and with personal folks that I've had stay here at the house, and anyway, so that's my personal observation over many years. But anyway, people's behavior and how we deal with things. So people can go to work one day in a happy mood and bring something nasty home with them. And we have to understand that it may not be our spouse, particularly, who is the one who is the nasty one. She brought a nasty energy home with her or him or whatever. Or the kids come home from school and they're in a foul ass mood. And all you want to do is like just slap them to make them shut up. And they're ill tempered. And yeah. We've all been there at some point, whether our own lives or our own kids or whatever. But to the point, though, if we take it as an observer's point of view, rather than get involved with whatever the daughter and get mad. And I used to do it myself because I would get mad on their level. Well, what are you angry about? And I would, and I would get loud as they were because we become a part of it, And laughter, if somebody's got a joke and they tell you, and they come in the house laughing and he, you don't, unless you're really severely depressed, you're still going to go, what? and it'll stop you from being depressed for even a second just to see somebody smile and laughing. So, things like that changes just like that. So, but as an observer, we can say, well, wait a minute, I'm still going to observe this, but hmm, I may not laugh at the joke, but I'm still going to listen to it. And then maybe later on you go, ha ha ha, that was funny. You can participate. That's a bad kind of, analogy in that respect. But keep our core values strong and keep our focus in these wonky times. So instead of going off on new tangents, it may be that you need to reinforce what you already know. Sit down, meditate, use a tree, find some nature, take some time, and allow yourself to hear yourself. Do like the hibernating bear. Many animals hibernate, but do like the hibernating bear to just go inside self and make sure everything's secure. I know I spoke about this the other day with Milky Way, but in there are certain topics that are like in my quantum area that are subject for discussion, and I call it my spirit guide message board kind of thing. And they give me there's conversations with this side of me all the time because okay, here's the topic. Now let's discuss it from all different points of view, not my point of view, but all points of view. And so that's what I tried to bring to you is different points of view on a subject. And hey, maybe it's this way, or it could be this way, or what's the potential. But anyway, so in this energy thing we've got, um, maintaining your own spiritual self, your own mental self, making sure that you've got your armor on, make sure that it's secure, make sure it fits you, make sure it's up to date. If it's your computer that's out of date and you need a new virus update, do that to your system and stay positive in that. That's how to get through these wonky times. And for God's sakes, when somebody tries to drag you into their wonky crap, you have enough sense of control to say, wait a minute. It's not that I won't help you, but I'm not going to get wonky. I'm not going to become part of the chaos. I will help you with your chaos, but I refuse to become a part of your chaos. There's an incident where a person, the wife and the husband are having troubles and wanted to stay out, and they had an argument. So it's like, I don't want to know what's going on, but you need a place to stay for the night. Okay, but I'm not getting involved. You need a place to stay. I love you. Okay, but I'm not getting involved with the wonkiness. Not that you don't really care, but to get involved in it, then you can't be an observer anymore. You've become a participant. And the more you become a participant with something, the less effective you are at what you actually want to accomplish, and that's to help somebody. I hope that makes sense. So after almost 45 minutes, Max Vision, it's good to see you. Excellent point. Supernatural. Oh man, how many times have I heard that type of giving? Yep. Yes, about to the poor folk, or there's somebody, and the people who give it there get really indignant, like, well, I don't know why they get so huffy about it, and I want to look to them and go, I don't know why you're getting so huffy about it. But to your point, Supernatural, Sweet Bee says, give with one hand and slap with the other. Yep. I'll give it to you with conditions. But anyway, Max says, right, never expect your values to be the same as others, and don't judge. One of the things about judging, and a lot of people, they say, well, I don't judge. Well, but yeah, you do. Well, no, I don't. Well, during your day, you're making all kinds of judgment calls. I did a video about it, I don't know, 6 months ago, about people are making judgment calls all the time with their cell phones, and liking a text or not liking a text or forwarding it. You're actually making judgment calls. People say, well, no, that doesn't really count. Well, don't it? Well, somebody says, well, I sent my friend this video, but they didn't they didn't hit the like button. They didn't share it. How come? Blah, 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 So wait a minute. We're judging all the time whether we choose to watch this or that. That's a judgment call. So this idea that, well, people who say, well, I don't make judgments. Oh, come on. you're just really not paying attention, are you? Is all I got to say. I ain't gonna, because I can't judge you, but I can make the judgment call that you obviously aren't paying attention, and that's still my judgment of their situation, But hey, that's where I've learned how to become more of the observer rather than the participant. I would rather if somebody is off on something, as it's becoming a favorite word of mine. Why? Why do you want to do it? Just not that you can't, but why? Just have you sat down for just 5 minutes and asked yourself honestly, answered truthfully, why you really want to do this? Well, fluffy, yada yada. But anyway, of the mind stock of social media. Yeah, don't judge others by your standards. It's a better way to say it, right, Max? A lot of ways to say it, but in so many ways, though, who am I to judge another person? It's just when you get right down to the spiritualness of stuff, when you start making judgment calls, then you become biased with your opinion, and then and then your opinion changes. Where, as a shaman in training, as a shaman of someone who is trying to do their best to kind of sort of be impartial, when you make these small little adjustments in judging someone's character or something, then you start making judgment calls with possibly information that you need to impart on someone or with someone. So, on all levels, it's important to be careful, that we just are aware of if what we're judging or how we're reacting to something. If we overreacting to something, we've made a judgment call, and somebody said, well, my judgment and this or that. There are a lot of explanations. I understand that. Oops, a little bit of laggy jump. Hi, Bob. I'm almost out of coffee. Actually, I am, but so this was supposed to be a short video after almost an hour. Hi, Ian. Well, I don't mind admitting I judge people all the time. Yeah, and it's not just in the judging of people. It's just we're always making judgment calls. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's when people say, "Well, I don't ever judge anything." But I'm sorry, but those people are probably doing it more than the rest of us. And my point to that part about the judgment thing is it's an awareness. When you realize, well, maybe I said something out loud and about something, and I really did make a judgment call. Maybe it's okay. Maybe I should just keep those things to myself. Maybe, I mean, but in the grand scheme of things, when we approach other people, we're always trying to judge whether a good person, bad person. So making judgment calls is a good thing in a lot of ways. We use our own intent and our own discernment and our own intuition. So, but as far as, well, you look crappy in that red dress. Well, that could be a judgment call where somebody else goes, yeah, man, you look hot in that red dress, baby. Just saying, just saying. People have different tastes and different things. So, but when you realize that everybody is an individual, when I want respect, even though I'm this crazy, cranky old, hippie hermit down here, um, you know, okie dokie, I respect you for who you are. We just have to honor each other for who we are. Now, if somebody's doing something mean, bad, nasty, I will honor them as a human being, but I'm not going to condone their behavior. Okay. And if I need to turn them into the cops if they're doing something really nasty, then that needs to be done. But in general, people aren't like that. So we make judgment calls sometimes when we may not understand the situation. So we make judgment calls sometimes with ourselves and our own spirit. And I think that there are those people in the spiritual, seeking the spiritual realm right now with all this wonkiness going on. This is all tied together. They're having second thoughts about some of their own feelings. There's some of their own energies. I'm being attacked, and maybe they are, but maybe they're setting themselves up for an attack. Maybe it's because there is a reoccurring something within their own spirit they have not put armor on for. So, you got to go inside to find out what you need protection from, kind of thing. But, and to solve the issues within yourself so that your armor is stronger. So sometimes reoccurring dreams or reoccurring events could actually be happening, but that could be because you don't have your armor on. Or and versus being afraid of it, say, okay, how can I deal with it? All right, there's a freaking alligator outside my back door. Now I know I can get some. If that alligator can't get me unless I get close to it or something. So it's like I'm going to go out the back door, or I'm going to make a noise over here. I'm going to throw food out the window. I'm going to throw the cat out. Something. I got a little dog that's about the right size. I'm just no, not really, but I actually have seen little dogs get eaten by alligators at Mayaca River State Park in Florida. So, but anyway, um, and boy, they're a tasty treat to them big gators. Let me tell you, about like a chicken. And little dogs taste a little like chicken, but so does alligator. But anyway, I'm sorry. But to the point, though, you can say, well, there's an alligator outside my door. Well, if you're in a situation and something is reoccurring, you can set up within your own self protection for whatever that is. But instead of if you're afraid of it and you panic, then you can't deal with it in a logical sense. So you have to put yourself in the observer point of view and say, look, this just happened to me. I got to let go of the trauma to myself and look at it and say, wait a minute, this just happened. This was bullshit. All right, let me look at it from over here. That third person point of view is real important. And you have to be honest and truthful. You can't go, well, I felt this way. Nah, can't pull them feelings in. You got to say, this is what happened. These are the facts. These are the things. And you got to be just straight down to it. Because if you allow yourself to analyze a situation that you in potentially could be in, if you're not truthful with yourself, then it's all going to fall apart. You must be brutally honest. You must stick with the facts. Well, I feel this way. Yeah, but why are you doing this? Is it because you feel that way? And sometimes that's a valid point, but sometimes your feelings need to stay out because it's clouding what's really necessary, and that's the facts. So a lot of times in law, you see sometimes on these programs, well, I went through all this mental anguish, and these people have all these prepared statements, and the judge says, sorry, don't want to hear none of it. Next, what are the facts? But the pain and the suffering, and she said, we don't want to hear it. Next. But that's the way we need to be sometimes in this observer point of view. Yeah, that's all nice, and the story's great, and the history, and we're compassionate, but that's not necessary for what's at hand right now. We need to look at the baseline of things within ourselves and say, wait a minute, maybe somehow I allowed some of this to happen. Maybe I let myself open for this. Maybe I wasn't quite as protected as I should have been. And I've just been lazy and not saying my prayers or whatever it may be that will help you, protect yourself in the spirit realm, dream realm, astral realm, physical realm, day-to-day BS realm, the wonkiness of the world. See, it's all tied together, y'all. But the self-protection is really important. But if you can't do your own soul work, anyway, you may continue to have difficulties with chinks in your armor. It kind of goes hand in hand. Not that you can't have good armor, but if you've got something that you really haven't resolved within yourself, it leaves a dark spot. And these entities can see it. Your armor might be shiny as hell, but it may be your Achilles heel. And if you don't know what Achilles heel is, it's Achilles, the god back in the days of Troy. And, he was, as a child, he was dipped into sacred water and was held up by his heel and dipped into the holy water of the gods so that nothing could harm him. And so nobody knew the secret, but back in the day of the Trojan Wars and all that kind of stuff, the word got out through the gods that overheard. Well, Achilles has this heel, and if you shoot him with a poison arrow in his heel, it will, yeah, you can kill him. He isn't indestructible. So the Achilles heel of things, no matter how powerful and strong and a demigod in a way, he still had the Achilles heel. He still had a weak point. There's always a chink in the armor. So if there's a darkness, and I don't mean like this evil entity living inside you, no, but if there's just unresolved issues that are still within you, those are sort of like chinks in your armor. And then some of them entities out there can smell it like 10 miles away, like a vulture can smell a dead animal on the ground. It's unbelievable. But anyway, my friends, um, I'm out of coffee. I'm out of drink. I got a butt cramp that just won't wait. I got a shift. Dawn's over here laughing at me, but I want to come back up here and kind of just scan Butch about um, the river Styx. Yeah. Hi, Mary wins. Everybody. I think everyone is flawed. But it's part of learning and evolving to be a better you. We are all flawed. I agree with you, Max, in some way, shape, or form. And it may be that it's only that we're flawed in the eyes of somebody else. What? Well, you're not perfect. One ear is over here, and the other one's like, and then somebody else say, "I love your ears, man. Look at that. Oh, you look like a Ferengi." I mean, who knows? But yeah, that would have been cool. My ears were big enough as a kid. I could have been a Ferengi. Um, but to the point, though, yeah, and we're just different entities. It's like, well, if I don't like that about you, then I won't stare at you. Sorry, I can look away, or I can, so I won't think of you in your underwear. The idea of standing up in front of somebody and everybody. Anyway, never mind. Um, so if I was to sit here and say, well, I'm thinking of all of you in your underwear, that would be kind of creepy, wouldn't it? But, that's, as a kid growing up and learning public speaking and so forth, it's like, now I could actually imagine the audience in their underwear, which all that did was make me laugh. I wasn't scared anymore. I was, doubled over in laughter. I'm peeing my drawers because I'm thinking of everybody naked now. And I got to walk out there and give this speech. And you want me to think everybody's, naked. Oh, yeah, right. That's really going to work for me. There's Mrs. Sawyer over there. Can you imagine her naked? And there's Mr. Johnson. Oh, God, if he was naked, no, that ain't going to work for me. So I know I'm crazy, gang. I know. Um, but anyway, yeah, okay. I just want to go back up and see if anybody else. Um, thank you, Ian. Thank you, you all. In the eyes of others. Yeah. We never know. And it's like, so you don't like me? Okay. Well, but rather than say, well, if you don't like me, then I don't like you neither. Yeah, that's mamby-pamby crap there. It's okay, Michelle. We love you anyway. If you're out walking, that's a good thing. So you keep it up. Feelings of guilt because we don't measure up to someone else's standards. Absolutely. In video a year and a half ago, I talked about shame and guilt and how much it drags us down. And people are all the time trying to like, well, Hawkeye, why do you really do that? Well, I'm a little crazy to begin with, but at the same point, I've kind of understood that, I've accepted a spiritual mission and I'm just going to follow it and do the best I can. I'm going to do it with good and positive intent. And so far, so good. I never expected all you folks would be subscribers to a channel. I figured if I had 10 people after 10 years, I'd be like, in like Flynn kind of thing. Man, I hate those rotary call things where they just keep calling you back with nothing to say. Oh man, Michelle, your 4-year-old's up until 6. man, I remember them days, unfortunately, or well, maybe fortunately. But anyway, in the grand scheme of things in the universe, you know, hey, Jody, hello, feeling so much fatigue. Take a deep breath, think of pleasant thoughts, think about the merry-go-round and cotton candy. That's an inside joke here, but no, try to put a pleasant thought in where you can. Hope you're doing well, Jody. You wrote me something recently, and for some reason my brain hasn't dealt with it. And I'm not trying to ignore you. Just wanted to say that. The end is always enlightening. Yeah, me and I got a lighter stuck in the back of my ear, but I've got an LED light that. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, my friends. After an hour, let's call it short for this time. I absolutely, truly do love you, Supernatural. It is particular that the Schumann res monitor is offline or blacked out still. I try to follow it daily these days. Same here, Supernatural. Me and Breaking Dawn are always checking it to see how things are fluctuating. And it went off, then it came back on for that short period. Now it's been off for, well, 24 hours now. So it is a little strange. Now, it could be, they replace something happened, that they just lost power. The machine went down. They're doing repair work. Who knows? But it is a little odd. And that there's also all this wonkiness going on. So the best thing is, remember, try to do it as an observer rather than participant. Choose your wars. If you're going to join the parade, find a spot you really like, otherwise you're going to have to listen to that god dog band play, Mary Had a Little Lamb for the next 2 miles. You may want to be behind them instead of in front of them. That's a bad analogy. But if you've ever been in a parade with a band that's playing Mary Had a Little Lamb for 4 miles, you would wish you were behind them. Just saying. Cheers, Ian, and to everyone. Love to all of you. Cosmic hugs all around. And I'll close with the prayer as always, and I do mean it. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the healing, the gifts, and the knowledge from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives and all of your relations will accept and receive the blessings from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept, receive, and continue to share the blessings, the healings, and the knowledge of the universe. So to you all, Michelle, any blessings for my son is appreciated. To your son, Michelle, and to both of you, blessings to both of you. And I know he has a slight condition thing. Let's hope that he'll take a rest and have a calm evening. How about that? So blessings all till next time. Be safe, be kind, be compassionate, and be who you truly are, a nice person. Till next time, TTFN from South Georgia. Blessings all.